Willow Creek, a town cradled in the predictable embrace of routine, often projected an illusion of quiet perfection, a sanctuary where lives seemingly unfolded without discord. At its heart was Sarah Miller, a dedicated nurse whose very existence seemed to epitomize order, empathy, and an unwavering commitment to both her patients and her family. Her days were a tapestry of purposeful action, her nights a quiet preparation for the next. Yet, beneath this meticulously curated surface, a different narrative pulsed, a clandestine secret carefully shielded from the adoring gaze of those who believed they knew her intimately. It was a secret born of complicated passion and profound risk, a dangerous thread woven through the fabric of her otherwise transparent life. Then one crisp autumn evening, that delicate, carefully maintained equilibrium was abruptly shattered. Sarah Miller vanished, leaving behind only an unsettling void, a silence that screamed louder than any alarm. Her sudden absence ripped through the community, exposing a profound vulnerability and forcing an uncomfortable truth to the forefront, that even the most luminous lives can cast the deepest, most dangerous shadows. What unspeakable truth lay hidden within Sarah's meticulously ordered world, and who was willing to ensure it remained buried, even at the cost of her very existence? Willow Creek often prided itself on its predictable rhythms, a town where the seasons turned with an almost comforting certainty. Within its quiet embrace lived Sarah Miller, a woman whose 32 years had been meticulously, joyfully dedicated to the well-being of others. As a charge nurse in the bustling emergency department of Willow Creek Hospital, Sarah was more than a skilled medical professional. She was a linchpin, a calming force whose infectious laugh could ease the most anxious patient and whose boundless empathy often extended far beyond her shift. Her personal life, too, was a model of purposeful routine. The invigorating chill of her early morning runs along the river, the comforting hum of her coffee machine at dawn, and the simple, cherished evenings spent with her younger sister Emily, who resided just a few blocks away. Her existence was a carefully woven tapestry of care, dedication, and connection, a life seemingly impervious to discord. On the evening of October 14, the Sarah finished her shift, the fluorescent lights of the hospital casting a familiar glow as she exchanged pleasantries with her colleagues. A quick text dispatched to Emily confirmed tentative dinner plans for the following night, a small, unremarkable detail that would soon carry the immense weight of tragic irony. At precisely 7:00 p.m., Sarah clocked out, a silhouette disappearing into the twilight, her silver Honda Civic navigating the familiar streets towards her quiet apartment. What followed was not the continuation of her gentle routine, but an abrupt, chilling silence that descended with the force of an unseen storm. Emily's subsequent texts went unanswered, a minor anomaly at first, then a growing source of unease as the hours stretched into the late evening. A prickle of genuine worry had compelled Emily to drive to Sarah's apartment. The building, usually warm with the glow of Sarah's presence, was dark and unresponsive. Inside, a profound stillness had taken root. The coffee machine, typically prepared for its morning ritual, sat cold and empty. Sarah's meticulously organized running shoes lay neatly by the door, untouched since her morning jog. Even her beloved houseplant, a vibrant splash of green, usually tended with diligent care, showed the first faint signs of neglect. It was more than unusual. It was a profound, unsettling absence that permeated the quiet apartment, a stark dissonance in Sarah's otherwise perfectly composed life. As dawn painted the sky with hesitant hues of orange and gray, the terrifying reality solidified Sarah remained missing. The meticulously ordered framework of her life had not just been interrupted, it had simply ceased to exist. Emily, now propelled by a frantic, sickening fear, moved through the early hours, her voice hoarse from endless, unanswered calls to friends and colleagues. Each silence on the other end of the line, each polite but bewildered response, tightened the grip of dread in her chest. The quiet, gentle nurse was gone, leaving behind only the profound, agonizing weight of her inexplicable absence, a gaping void that swallowed all explanations. For Emily, the world had abruptly tilted its once predictable axis, now spinning into an unknown and terrifying void. The morning light, usually a gentle usher of the day in Willow Creek, now seemed to pierce Emily Miller's already raw despair. Sarah hadn't just missed work. She hadn't even called in. Her hospital supervisor, a woman whose voice typically resonated with calm authority, had sounded frayed during her call to Emily, the polite concern quickly morphing into genuine alarm. Such an egregious breach of professional conduct was utterly alien to Sarah, a nurse whose punctuality was as legendary as her compassion. Emily's mind, a frantic kaleidoscope of scenarios, cycled through every possibility, each more terrifying than the last, yet refusing to settle on any logical explanation. A cold knot tightened in Emily's stomach, a visceral sense of wrongness that relentlessly gnawed at her composure. A gut instinct, sharper and more insistent than any rational thought, compelled her to drive Sarah's usual route to the hospital. Her eyes, red-rimmed from a sleepless night, meticulously scanned every turn, every curve of the road. Just off a quiet, tree-lined stretch that wound towards the Whisperwood Trail, a popular local hiking path, she saw it. Partially obscured by a cluster of ancient oak trees, Sarah's silver Honda Civic sat parked askew, its presence an incongruous, jarring note in the otherwise serene landscape. Emily brought her own car to an abrupt halt, her breath catching in her throat. The scene was unnervingly still, almost staged in its unsettling emptiness. She approached the vehicle cautiously, each step a reluctant echo in the profound quiet. The car doors were locked, a superficial reassurance that did little to quell the chilling dread that unfurled in her chest. Through the driver's side window, Emily could clearly discern Sarah's favorite knitted scarf, a splash of vibrant teal draped over the passenger seat. Her work ID badge, with its crisp photo of Sarah's smiling face, remained clipped to the visor, a chilling sentinel. The phone charger dangled idly from the dashboard, as if awaiting a connection that would never come. Every detail suggested Sarah had merely stepped away for a moment, that she would return any second. Yet the deep, profound silence around the Honda spoke volumes, screaming a different, more terrifying truth. The pristine nature of the scene offered no comfort. There were no signs of a struggle, no shattered glass, no dents or scrapes indicating a collision. It was as if Sarah had simply walked away, abandoning her life mid-route. But Sarah, pragmatic and responsible, would never abandon her car, let alone her professional obligations or her cherished personal items. The serenity of the morning, the chirping of unseen birds, and the gentle rustle of the autumn leaves felt like a cruel mockery of the deep, pervasive wrongness that permeated the scene. It was a suffocating dread, palpable and invasive, clinging to the quiet heart of Willow Creek. As Emily's trembling hand fumbled for her phone to dial 911, an undeniable, gut-wrenching conviction solidified within her. This was no mere disappearance. The very air seemed to thicken with unspoken questions, each passing second amplifying the chilling understanding that the mystery of Sarah Miller had just begun, a silent alarm ringing out in the deceptive calm. Within moments of Emily's frantic, choked-out 911 call, the quiet country road cradling Whisperwood Trail underwent a stark transformation. The serene autumnal landscape, a tableau of peaceful desolation, just instants before now, pulsed with a kaleidoscope of flashing blue and red lights. Patrol cars converged rapidly, their urgent sirens briefly fracturing the morning's calm, followed swiftly by the Willow Creek Police Department's lead investigators. Detective Miles Corbin, a veteran with 2 decades etched into his steady gaze, carried the unspoken weight of countless past tragedies, yet his movements remained precise, methodical. Beside him, Detective Elena Rodriguez, sharper and newer, but equally driven, meticulously documented every detail her observant gaze, missing nothing as the controlled chaos unfolded. The discovery of Sarah's silver Civic, abandoned near the entrance to the vast Whisperwood Trail, ignited an immediate and profound sense of urgency. For seasoned investigators, the initial critical hours following a disappearance represent a precious fleeting window, a relentless pursuit against dwindling time. A perimeter was swiftly established, bright yellow tape starkly delineating the scene. Uniformed officers fanned out into the adjacent woods, their shouts of Sarah's name swallowed by the dense foliage and the rustling leaves of the sprawling forest. K-9 units, powerful noses to the ground, were deployed, their handlers issuing terse commands, their focused intensity a grim counterpoint to the damp earth. What began as a welfare check had rapidly escalated into a full-scale search and rescue operation, the stakes undeniably high. Emily, her face streaked with tears, clung to her brother Daniel, who arrived moments after the first responders. Her voice, trembling yet resolute, recounted Sarah's last known movements, her meticulous routine, and the sudden chilling cessation of contact. "She was so kind," Emily choked out, her voice barely a whisper, so reliable. "She wouldn't just leave, not without a word." The detectives absorbed every word, their faces grim, understanding the silent, crushing burden those first crucial hours imposed. The smallest detail, the slightest deviation from Sarah's known patterns, might prove a crucial lifeline. Detective Corbin, his expression carefully guarded, exchanged a brief pointed glance with Rodriguez. The inexorable march of time now pressed down with palpable force. Every unsearched patch of woods, every uncanvassed home, every unexamined piece of data represented a dwindling opportunity. The community of Willow Creek, usually a picture of quiet tranquility, now held its breath, unified by a single terrifying question that hung heavy in the crisp morning air. Where was Sarah Miller, and what horrors had befallen her search teams? A growing assembly of determined faces moved with a controlled intensity, knowing that with each passing moment, the likelihood of finding Sarah alive diminished. The sun climbed higher, indifferent to the unfolding tragedy, as the critical hours began their relentless slip away. Detective Corbin and Detective Rodriguez meticulously navigated the initial phases of their investigation. Each detail scrutinized, every statement weighed. The immediate scene around Sarah's abandoned car yielded remarkably little beyond her personal effects. No forced entry, no shattered glass, no overt signs of struggle disturbed the serene setting. It was almost too pristine, too undisturbed for a violent act, an unsettling precision that for seasoned detectives often spoke volumes. A potent sense of deliberate staging began to settle over the area, an unsettling calm that belied the urgency of a true emergency. Their initial inquiries centered on Sarah's inner circle, her family and colleagues, as they worked to construct a comprehensive portrait of the missing nurse. Emily, still raw with the grief that twisted her features, recounted Sarah's unwavering kindness, her meticulous reliability, and an absolute absence of any known enemies. "She was an angel," Emily choked out, her voice barely a whisper, her eyes pleading for understanding. "Everyone loved her. She wouldn't simply vanish from our lives." Colleagues at Willow Creek Hospital echoed these sentiments, uniformly describing Sarah as diligent, compassionate, and utterly professional. There were no disgruntled patients, no workplace conflicts that escalated beyond minor disagreements, no hidden debts or illicit activities discernible beneath her calm exterior. Sarah Miller's life, as painted by those closest to her, appeared an open book of unwavering integrity. Yet she was undeniably gone, her carefully built world having evaporated without explanation. The detectives methodically canvassed the quiet tree-lined neighborhood surrounding the abandoned car and along Sarah's presumed route home. Door to door, they showed her photograph, pressing for any glimmer of a sighting, anything at all from that fateful morning. The responses were frustratingly uniform: polite regret, blank stares, no concrete recollection of Sarah herself. One elderly resident, an avid birdwatcher, who routinely observed the early morning activity near the trail, offered a fleeting, ambiguous detail. He recalled seeing a dark-colored sedan, almost black, he thought parked somewhat erratically near Sarah's car hours before her disappearance was reported. He couldn't provide a make, model, or license plate, only the distinctive, very dark blue, almost black color. It was a frustratingly elusive piece of information, too common to be immediately useful, yet just significant enough to linger. This profound absence of any immediate, obvious explanation only deepened the bewildering nature of Sarah's disappearance, layering confusion onto the initial fear. Was this an abduction, devoid of any struggle, a personal crisis she had meticulously kept hidden, or something far more sinister and cunningly orchestrated, designed to defy detection? The tranquil facade of Willow Creek had been violently fractured, and the void of clear answers began to sow the first subtle seeds of suspicion within the investigative team. The quiet simplicity of Sarah's reported life now stood in stark contrast to the perplexing vacuum she had left behind, hinting at a truth far more complex than a simple vanishing, a narrative subtly veiled beneath the surface. The initial frantic ground search quickly intensified, transforming into a desperate, methodical grid sweep of the vast Whisperwood Trail and its surrounding dense forests. Teams of searchers, their numbers swelling with volunteers from the Willow Creek community, moved in synchronized lines, eyes straining against the dappled light filtering through the tree canopy. K9 units, highly trained noses pressed to the damp earth, tracked Sarah's scent for a short, agonizing stretch. For a few hundred yards, the dogs pulled their handlers deep into the woods, offering a glimmer of hope before abruptly losing the trail near a small rocky creek bed. It was a disheartening development, suggesting either Sarah had been picked up at that precise point, or her scent had been deliberately masked, a cold calculation. The terrain itself became an adversary. Thick with gnarled roots, dense underbrush, and a treacherous carpet of fallen leaves, Whisperwood proved challenging. Each step was a struggle, each potential clue easily obscured. Drone footage deployed with advanced thermal imaging offered little assistance, The impenetrable tree canopy was simply too dense to provide a clear view of the ground below. As the first 24 hours bled into the next, a profound exhaustion began to weigh heavily on the search teams. Their initial adrenaline, fueled by urgent hope, gradually gave way to a grim determination, an acknowledgement that each passing moment rendered the task more daunting. Detectives Corbin and Rodriguez, while orchestrating the physical search, continued to pursue every lead, no matter how faint. The vague description of a dark-colored sedan, offered by the birdwatcher from the previous day, resurfaced. The jogger, an avid local who frequented the trail daily, confirmed seeing a vehicle that morning, a very dark blue, almost black sedan, parked erratically near Sarah's car. He couldn't provide a make or model, let alone a license plate. The details were frustratingly elusive. It was just enough information to tantalize a fleeting shadow, but not enough to provide concrete direction, leaving the investigators grasping at smoke. The absence of any further witnesses who saw Sarah herself, walking or otherwise, compounded the growing frustration. No one remembered seeing a woman matching her description anywhere near the trail after her car was parked. Each path explored seemed to lead to a new dead end, each promising clue dissolving into ambiguity. The dense woods, ancient and silent, seemed to guard their secrets, tightly whispering only hints and echoes. With agonizing speed, the critical window of opportunity to find Sarah alive began to shrink, casting a pall of fading hope over the relentless search efforts. The silent watch of the forest offered no easy answers, only a profound, chilling mystery. As the exhaustive physical search of Whisperwood Trail continued to yield nothing but fading hopes and mounting frustration, Detective Elena Rodriguez, pragmatic and ever-resourceful, initiated a strategic pivot. The dense woods had proven tight-lipped, but Rodriguez instinctively knew the digital realm often held secrets its real-world counterpart could not conceal. With a warrant swiftly obtained, she launched a meticulous forensic examination of Sarah Miller's online and phone activities, determined to unearth what the forest refused to yield. Initially, Sarah's digital footprint appeared remarkably pristine, mirroring the orderly professional and personal life everyone believed she led. Her phone records, social media accounts, and bank statements presented a picture of a woman devoid of financial woes, secret vices, or any unusual online interactions. This reinforcing image of the dedicated nurse, a life seemingly without anything to hide, began to prick at Rodriguez's instincts. In complex disappearances, such an absence of digital anomaly could paradoxically be the greatest anomaly of all. A deeper, more granular forensic dive into Sarah's primary cell phone soon unearthed a disturbing truth. Hidden within the device's memory, recovered from a data graveyard, lay a series of unsent text messages to an unknown number. They had not simply been unsent, they had been deliberately deleted just moments before Sarah's disappearance, a desperate final act of digital concealment. The fragments, laced with raw emotion, hinted at an escalating confrontation. "Why are you doing this, read one? I can't believe you." "How could you?" another. The most poignant and foreboding stated, simply, "This has to stop. I won't let you." The recipient's number was not in her contacts, a ghost haunting her digital history. This profound discovery was quickly overshadowed by something far more perplexing. A team member, following a persistent hunch, conducted a second, more thorough search of Sarah's apartment. Concealed beneath a loose floorboard in her bedroom closet, they found a burner phone, a cheap prepaid device tucked away with almost professional precision. The phone itself had been meticulously wiped clean, a calculated attempt to erase any traces of its use. Yet forensic specialists, working tirelessly, managed to recover fragments of calls and texts from its encrypted memory. The burner phone's history painted a starkly different portrait of Sarah Miller's life. It revealed frequent late-night communications with a single untraceable number that chillingly mirrored the time frame of the deleted unsent texts on her primary phone. This wasn't the transparent, orderly Sarah Miller the detectives had painstakingly profiled. This was a Sarah who harbored a profound secret, a dangerous personal narrative unfolding beneath the placid surface of her calm existence. The burner phone, an undeniable artifact of deception and secrecy, instantly became the most vital clue in the investigation, hinting at a truth Sarah had desperately tried to bury, a truth that may have led directly to her disappearance. The hunt for a missing nurse had now transformed into the unmasking of a hidden life, and the potential consequences were just beginning to reveal themselves. The small, innocuous burner phone discovered hidden beneath Sarah Miller's floorboard held a truth so deeply buried, its revelation sent a cold current through the very heart of the investigation. Its untraceable number, previously a digital phantom, now offered the key to a clandestine existence, a hidden life that unraveled with a profound sense of foreboding. Detective Rodriguez, working tirelessly with forensic specialists, began cross-referencing the recovered call logs from the burner phone with Sarah's known work schedule and the comprehensive list of contacts from Willow Creek Hospital. A distinct pattern emerged, starkly contrasting with Sarah's public image. The mysterious number corresponded almost exclusively with times when Sarah was off duty, often late at night, a period when her regular phone remained silent. The pieces began to slot into place, catalyzed by a subtle, almost imperceptible rumor that had recently circulated through the hospital's hushed corridors. A junior nurse interviewed weeks prior and dismissed for lack of concrete information had recalled a fleeting hushed speculation about Sarah and a prominent figure at the hospital. The dots connected with chilling precision. The untraceable number belonged to Dr. Evan Thorne, a highly respected, indeed revered cardiothoracic surgeon at Willow Creek Hospital. Dr. Thorne was renowned not only for his surgical brilliance, but also for his charismatic charm, his philanthropic endeavors in the community, and his seemingly devoted marriage. He was to all outward appearances a pillar of the community, a man beyond reproach. The revelation was a seismic shock to the investigative team. The relentless pursuit of Sarah Miller had now led directly to one of Willow Creek's most respected citizens. Dr. Thorne was immediately brought in for questioning, his initial demeanor, one of poised professionalism, tinged with a carefully modulated concern for Sarah. He met the detective's gaze with a steady, almost practiced calm, vehemently denying any involvement in her disappearance. He admitted with a sigh he presented as regretful that he and Sarah had engaged in a brief clandestine relationship. "Sarah and we had a brief thing," he confessed, his voice carefully controlled, but it was over. "We parted amicably weeks ago. I haven't spoken to her in at least a month." He skillfully portrayed their separation as mutual, uncomplicated, and definitively concluded. Yet Detective Rodriguez, observing the subtle shifts in his posture, the slight tightening around his eyes, knew his carefully constructed narrative was already flawed. She had the evidence. The recovered unsent texts from Sarah's primary phone fraught with anguish and confrontation. "Why are you doing this?" This has to stop. I won't let you, contradicted his claims. These messages were not weeks old. They were dated the very night of Sarah's disappearance, directly undermining Dr. Thorne's carefully constructed timeline of an amicable breakup. The quiet, dedicated nurse everyone believed they knew had harbored a dangerous secret, and that secret now undeniably pointed toward one of Willow Creek's most respected figures. The turning point in the investigation had definitively arrived. With Dr. Evan Thorne now squarely in their sights, Detectives Corbin and Rodriguez began the painstaking process of dismantling his meticulously crafted alibi. Thorne asserted with an air of mild inconvenience that after leaving Willow Creek Hospital on the night of Sarah's disappearance, he had simply returned home to his family. This was the convenient narrative he aimed to project a busy, dedicated surgeon resuming the domestic tranquility of his upscale home. Yet the first hairline cracks in this polished facade began to appear almost immediately. His wife, a woman of elegant composure who genuinely expressed concern for Sarah's welfare, was interviewed separately. She recalled her husband arriving home later than usual that evening, a delay she attributed to a supposed late-night patient consultation. However, a swift cross-reference with hospital records revealed no such consultation in Thorne's log. The discrepancy was minor, easily overlooked by an ordinary person, but to Corbin and Rodriguez, it was a subtle discord in an otherwise perfect symphony, a single note out of place that demanded attention. True breakthrough, however, emerged from a painstaking review of external surveillance. Meticulous examination of traffic camera footage and private security cameras, strategically positioned along Sarah's known route home and near her apartment complex, provided undeniable visual evidence. A dark-colored sedan, matching both the jogger's vague description and Dr. Thorne's high-end vehicle, was clearly captured on multiple feeds. The car was seen parked less than a block from Sarah's apartment complex, shortly after her shift ended, lingering for nearly an hour before driving away just before midnight. This timeline directly contradicted Thorne's assertion of being home with his family for the entire evening. The silent gaze of the surveillance cameras had borne witness to a truth Thorne was desperate to conceal. Armed with this compelling evidence, the detectives brought Dr. Thorne back in for a more pointed interrogation. The sterile room, stripped of pleasantries, now hummed with palpable tension. His calm demeanor, once so impenetrable, began to visibly fray. When confronted with the stark surveillance footage, the color visibly drained from his face. He shifted uncomfortably in his chair, his gaze dropping to the table. With a practiced sigh of regret now tinged with genuine desperation, he conceded, "Yes, I went to her apartment that night." He stammered, his eyes darting between Corbin and Rodriguez. "We talked. She was upset about the breakup, agitated. She was fine when I left. I swear." His admission, though partial and carefully worded, dealt a critical blow to his credibility. The intricate web of lies he had meticulously spun was now visibly fraying thread by thread, exposing a panicked man desperate to conceal his true movements. The detectives knew they were closing in the chilling truth of Sarah Miller's final hours now, lying just beneath the surface of Dr. Evan Thorne's rapidly crumbling deception. The carefully constructed persona of the respected surgeon was giving way, revealing the desperate actions of a man ensnared by his own secrets. The interrogation room, stark and unyielding, became a crucible of truth. Detective Corbin, leaning forward, his voice a low, steady rumble, began systematically laying out the undeniable evidence against Dr. Evan Thorne. He started with the irrefutable visual testimony, the surveillance footage showing Thorne's dark sedan lingering near Sarah's apartment, directly contradicting his earlier confident denials. Next came the recovered burner phone records, irrefutable documentation of a clandestine relationship directly challenging his carefully constructed narrative of an amicable breakup weeks prior. Each piece of evidence was presented with a deliberate surgical precision, steadily eroding Thorne's remaining defenses. But the ultimate devastating blow arrived with a crucial piece of forensic discovery, a single blonde hair microscopically consistent with Sarah Miller's found meticulously entwined within the upholstery of Dr. Thorne's luxury vehicle. It was a silent, damning testament to her presence there that fateful night. Thorne's carefully cultivated composure, once so impenetrable, finally fractured. He visibly slumped in his chair, his shoulders deflating, his once steady gaze now darting frantically between Corbin and Rodriguez, unable to meet their unwavering eyes. The air grew thick with a desperate silence, broken only by the low hum of the ventilation system, a mechanical drone in counterpoint to the unraveling man. The strategic questioning from both detectives worked in tandem, a relentless psychological pincer movement. Corbin, the seasoned veteran, pressed on Thorne's emotional vulnerabilities, his voice calm but insistent, painting a stark picture of the inevitable ruin of his esteemed reputation, his family, his entire, meticulously built life. Rodriguez, analytical and incisive, methodically picked apart the remaining fragments of his dissolving alibi, challenging every inconsistency, every half-truth. His initial denials, uttered with practiced ease, quickly dissolved, morphing into desperate, increasingly elaborate, and transparent false narratives. "We argued," he finally confessed, his voice a strained, broken whisper, the words extracted under the immense, unyielding pressure. "She threatened to expose me, to tell my wife, my colleagues, everyone." He described a heated confrontation within her apartment, a desperate, futile plea for her to reconsider, for her to safeguard his carefully constructed world from catastrophic collapse. "It was an accident," he insisted, his voice rising in a panicked crescendo, a desperate plea for absolution. "She fell. She hit her head. I didn't mean for any of it to happen." His hands clenched into tight fists, knuckles white as if trying to grasp onto the last vestiges of a control that had long since slipped away. He recounted in agonizing, fragmented detail how blinding panic had consumed him in the horrifying aftermath. Seeing Sarah unresponsive, motionless on her apartment floor, he made a terrible, irreversible decision that eclipsed all reason and morality. He claimed he had driven her car to the Whisperwood Trail, leaving it there with her personal effects to mislead investigators, creating a calculated diversion. Then, under the absolute cloak of deepest night, he returned to her apartment to retrieve her body, driving it to a remote, densely wooded area, hours away, a desperate gamble that the ancient forest would forever conceal his unspeakable act. This chilling confession, agonizingly forced out under the weight of irrefutable evidence and psychological expertise, finally provided the terrifying answer to Sarah Miller's disappearance, exposing a desperate act born of profound fear and the life-shattering secret he had so ruthlessly tried to bury. The brutal, raw truth had finally, irrevocably emerged. Armed with Dr. Thorne's chilling confession, a desperate and precise search operation was immediately launched. The coordinates he had provided, vague, at first due to his panicked state, were meticulously refined by advanced GPS mapping and a specialized search and rescue team. The area he indicated was a remote, densely forested section of the Willow Creek State Park, a desolate expanse miles from the more frequented Whisperwood Trail. This calculated deception aimed at misdirection further underscored the cold, deliberate nature of his actions. As the sun began its slow, deliberate descent below the horizon, casting long skeletal shadows across the ancient pines, the search continued with a grim, unwavering determination. Every rustle of leaves, every snapped twig amplified the tension in the autumnal air. Uniformed officers alongside trained volunteers and canine units combed through the thick undergrowth, their movements synchronized, their hope dwindling with each passing moment. They waged a relentless fight against the fading light and the cruel passage of a brutal countdown, acutely aware that each second pushed Sarah further into the realm of the lost. Then, precisely 47 hours and 30 minutes after Sarah Miller was officially reported missing, a call came crackling over the radios. "We have a visual," a voice, strained but clear, announced, cutting through the weary silence. The search team, converging on a secluded clearing, made the grim discovery. A shallow grave, crudely dug beneath a canopy of old-growth pines, barely concealed the remains of Sarah Miller. The sight was a visceral blow to the hardened investigators, a confirmation of their darkest fears, and a horrifying definitive end to the relentless pursuit. The silence that followed was not peaceful, but heavy with the crushing weight of unspeakable tragedy. For Emily and Daniel, waiting with agonizing anticipation at the police station, the news brought a devastating certainty that buckled Emily's knees. The faint, flickering flame of hope they had desperately clung to for nearly 2 days was brutally extinguished in an instant. Emily collapsed into her brother's arms, her cries echoing through the sterile halls, a raw, primal agony that tore through her. She didn't deserve this, she sobbed, her voice a broken whisper, her body racked with tremors. To vanish only to be found like this. It's a cruelty beyond measure. Daniel held her tight, his own face a mask of profound sorrow, the news striking him with a physical force that left him breathless. The community of Willow Creek, which had rallied behind the search efforts with such earnest hope, collectively mourned. The discovery of Sarah's body not only confirmed her death, but also irrevocably shattered the illusion of their quiet town's innocence, laying bare the dark underbelly of a secret life and a devastating betrayal that resonated far beyond the immediate family. The meticulous work of detectives Corbin and Rodriguez had brought Sarah home, but the cost was an immeasurable sorrow that settled deep within the collective consciousness of the town. Sarah Miller, the dedicated nurse, was no longer missing. She was found, but the reality was a profound burden that would forever alter those who knew her. The arrest of Dr. Evan Thorne, a figure once admired and revered, sent profound shockwaves through Willow Creek, reverberating far beyond the immediate circle of Sarah Miller's loved ones. His impending trial for murder became the grim focal point of the community's collective grief and its unyielding demand for justice. The prosecution, spearheaded by a formidable and seasoned district attorney, presented a compelling, meticulously constructed case arguing that Thorne's act was not a panicked accident, but premeditated murder driven by his suffocating fear of exposure and the potential ruin of his prestigious career, and carefully curated personal life. They methodically laid out the intricate web of evidence, the burner phone a silent witness to a clandestine affair, the incriminating deleted texts, Sarah's desperate final pleas for an end to the deception, the stark surveillance footage, an unblinking eye on Thorne's movements, the single damning. Blonde hair, a microscopic testament to her presence in his car. Finally, his own coerced confession, extracted under relentless pressure, was presented not as an admission of accidental fault, but as a calculated attempt to minimize his culpability, a desperate man trying to control the narrative even as his world crumbled. Emily and Daniel sat in the front row every day of the trial, their faces etched with profound sorrow and a burning, unwavering desire for accountability. Every witness, every piece of evidence was a fresh wound, but they bore it with a stoic resolve that resonated throughout the courtroom. Emily, her voice initially trembling with raw emotion, delivered a victim impact statement that commanded absolute silence. Sarah was vibrant, full of life, full of a love that touched everyone she met. She stated, her gaze fixed directly on Thorne, who noticeably avoided her eyes. And her life was stolen by a man who valued his own reputation, his own secrets, more than her very existence. He sought to bury her and her truth, but he failed. Her words, imbued with an unyielding strength that defied her grief, resonated through the solemn room, an undeniable accusation. The defense, a team of shrewd and experienced attorneys, countered with their own narrative. They strove to portray Thorne not as a cold-blooded killer, but as a respected surgeon, a man overwhelmed by the immense pressure of his secret life, who in a single moment of panicked desperation accidentally caused Sarah's death during a heated argument. They argued that his initial lies were a symptom of profound fear and self-preservation, not malice, and that the accident was a tragic, unintended consequence of a life spiraling out of control. They emphasized his service to the community, his unblemished professional record, attempting to cast doubt on his intent and diminish the severity of his actions. Courtroom transformed into a crucible where the truth was forged under intense scrutiny as legal arguments meticulously dissected every minute of Sarah's final hours, weighing intent against consequence, and a life brutally ended against a reputation desperately guarded. Each day brought a new wave of emotional testimony, procedural explanations from Detectives Corbin and Rodriguez, and the cold, hard facts of forensic science, all building towards a moment of reckoning. The fate of Sarah Miller and the man who took her life now lay in the hands of 12 strangers, tasked with untangling a complex web of deceit, betrayal, and unspeakable tragedy to render a final, indelible judgment. After weeks of gripping testimony of lives laid bare and secrets violently exposed, the jury delivered its verdict. A collective, hushed intake of breath swept through the courtroom, quickly followed by a heavy silence as the foreman's voice, steady and clear, pronounced guilty. Dr. Evan Thorne, once the very embodiment of Willow Creek's success and respectability, was found guilty of the murder of Sarah Miller. For Emily and Daniel, who had endured every agonizing moment of the trial, the pronouncement brought a wave of crushing finality, mingled with a strange, hollow relief. The legal closure meticulously fought for offered little true balm for the profound void Sarah's absence had carved into their lives. Emily, her body shaking, clung to Daniel, silent tears tracing paths down her face, a complex blend of vindication and unbearable sorrow. Dr. Evan Thorne, typically composed, remained rigidly stoic, his jaw set steadfastly, refusing to meet the eyes of Sarah's grieving family. When offered the opportunity to speak, he delivered a perfunctory apology, a carefully constructed statement of regret that resonated with an utter lack of sincerity. Emily and Daniel dismissed it, understanding it as a final, desperate act of self-preservation. There was no genuine remorse in his gaze, only a carefully veiled defiance, a chilling confirmation of the calculating persona detectives Corbin and Rodriguez had so painstakingly unmasked during their interrogation. His performance served as a poignant testament to the fact that some wounds could never truly heal, and some apologies could never truly be accepted. For Detectives Corbin and Rodriguez, the verdict represented the culmination of their relentless pursuit, the successful resolution of a case that had tested their resolve to its limits. Yet even in this hard-won victory, the immense weight of the human cost was palpable. They had secured justice for Sarah, but they could not bring her back. The quiet fortitude of Emily and Daniel enduring public scrutiny with unwavering dignity served as a powerful, constant reminder of the profound commitment that drove them often against seemingly insurmountable odds. Sarah Miller's story, once a quiet melody of dedication and routine, had tragically morphed into a stark and chilling narrative. It illuminated the insidious dangers that can lurk beneath even the most tranquil surfaces, a sobering revelation that even seemingly ordinary lives can conceal profound, life-altering secrets with devastating consequences. The tragedy irrevocably shattered the illusion of Willow Creek's untroubled innocence, compelling the community to confront the uncomfortable truth that betrayal and violence could infiltrate even its most respected circles. In the aftermath, Emily, channeling her profound grief into a purpose that honored her sister's memory, forged a new path. She established the Sarah's Light Foundation, dedicated to supporting victims of domestic violence and advocating for stricter penalties for those who conceal crimes. The foundation, born from immense sorrow, swiftly became a beacon of hope and a tangible legacy of Sarah's compassionate spirit. It organized crucial community awareness programs, offered confidential counseling, and provided vital legal aid, ensuring that no other family in Willow Creek would navigate such a devastating loss in isolation. Emily's transformation from a grieving sister to a fierce advocate stood as a powerful emblem of the enduring resilience of the human spirit. The community, initially shattered by the tragedy, found a renewed resolve, embracing a deeper sense of vigilance and mutual support. Sarah's vibrant spirit, though extinguished far too soon, continued to resonate, a silent, powerful force pushing for positive, systemic change. Her memory was etched not only in the hearts of those who loved her, but also in the reinforced protections and heightened awareness that now permeated Willow Creek. The pursuit of justice for Sarah Miller had been long and arduous, a journey through a landscape of deceit and sorrow. The conviction of Dr. Evan Thorne, while a necessary step in the legal reckoning, brought with it a bittersweet realization. Some victories, however hard-won, remain profoundly hollow. Yet in the enduring legacy of Sarah's light, her life and the relentless pursuit of truth for it would never be forgotten, echoing a powerful testament to justice, the consequences of hidden lives, and the indomitable will to ensure that even in the darkest moments, a light can still find a way to shine. In the quiet town of Willow Creek, Sarah Miller's vanished life illuminated the devastating cost of secrets and the enduring fight for truth. If Sarah Miller's fight for truth and the pursuit of justice in Willow Creek resonated with you, subscribe to Shadow Files for more stories that bring light to the darkness. Don't forget to subscribe to Shadow Files and hit the notification bell.